Whatever happened to psychic medium Tia Carroll? Welcome to Black Ram TV's podcast, Gaining Ground. My name is Daniela Sagia, Chief Strategist and Creative Director at Black Ram Media Group, Inc. And I am here today with Tia Carroll. And if you don't recall, we actually filmed her pilot episode for her show, Crossroads Medium. And we've lost touch with her, so we managed to catch back up here in Nova Scotia, Canada, to see what she's been up to. And she has a lot going on and has been keeping us very busy. So welcome, Tia.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while. So you've been undergoing some family stuff, which is what kept you off the radar for a while. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the past year has kind of been a little bit more of a whirlwind. Ended up finding out that my husband had colon cancer, and he kind of took a dive very rapidly. But after advocating for him and really pushing, we were able to get amazing surgeons and, chemo treatments and things like that. So I kind of took a year off to really just kind of focus on family as well as his well-being and being there for him every step of the way. Obviously not knowing what the outcome was ever going to be, and kind of putting business a little bit more on the back burner and putting family a little bit more on the front.
Now, do you find in life when sometimes life in general will stop you for a while, that then when you dive back in, it's a lot busier than you were before you took the break?
I can definitely say yes to that. I think also because you have a lot of time to think, and you try to see different things that you want to go into, and also learning lessons that you're going through within that time period, and change of focus, which is really what I'm about to be doing with new launches that are coming up. And I'm absolutely excited to be able to share that with you today. I've been putting it a little bit of a secret, but now it's ready to launch. So now that my husband is feeling somewhat back to normal and, still taking things day by day, now I can reshift the focus of going back into business and really putting myself out there.
So let's talk about that business a little bit, because we've been pretty busy in the last 24 hours in the studio doing some fun stuff to your website and helping you launch two new things, really, right? So one of them is your product line that you'll now be selling on your website, probably in a matter of hours. How do you feel about that? And tell us a bit about the products and why you chose to go this route.
So the products itself is, the name of the boutique is Soul Alignment Boutique. All of the products that I am selling are very close to me, things that I know about. And, about your candles and your bracelets, your necklaces, definitely aligning of chakras. I'll definitely have some books in there in time and always add to it. But right now, stones and crystals, things that you can utilize on a daily basis. That's close to my heart. That's pretty much what I'm about. And, bringing it within the small town that I live in now, putting it online at least gets to reach out a little bit more of my customer bases as well as followers, and having them learn about the products as well, of how it can be beneficial to them.
So it used to be, if I recall, that when you would give a psychic reading to somebody, every once in a while you would suggest something like a type of crystal or oil they may need, and you used to just send them other places. What made you decide that you should, and I'm not now talking to you as a business person, not as a spiritual person. What made you decide that, hey, wait a minute, if they're going to buy it anyways, why not from me? What made you decide to grow in that direction?
I think one of the biggest things is other entrepreneurs in my life that have pushed me and actually opened me up a little bit more, considering I do make a lot of suggestions in almost all of my, sessions and things like that I thought, well, wait a second. This is what I do in my life, and all of these products are what I have in my life. Why don't I just be able to offer it as well? And taking the leap of faith and jumping into a new area where I'm living in, there's not a lot out here for that. And so that kind of pushed me a little bit further. And I heard about from the universe, well, why don't you open up your own boutique? And so that's where, the ball started rolling.
So that's a big learning curve for you, being someone who's so spiritually centered, to now be thinking of retail sales. How was it a hard stretch for you?
It's taken me a little bit of time to adjust to it, but I know that they're leading me into the right direction. And, obviously I've had moments where right now it's just going to start off somewhat small, but you can always build onto that. And there are times in which I can see in the future having, my own storefront and then being able to do readings and stuff in the back and having another private area. So right now it's about just taking that leap of faith and taking one foot in front of the other and then see where it goes.
And the other part of the business you're launching is a subscription service. Tell us a bit about that.
I am super excited about that. It has been something I've wanted to do for the last couple of years. I am all about mentoring and teaching. I think right now a lot of people are going through so much in their life, especially with the Great Awakening that's happening right now. A lot of people are confused, not understanding what's happening with them. And I want to be able to share my experiences as well as other people coming in, other healers that's part of the group as well, to be able to talk to you so that you have a better understanding. So this is going to include classes. This is going to include mentorship. There's going to be mindfulness, empowerment quotes, affirmations, things that we can do every single day, and to be able to learn something small every single day. So it's not overloaded with information. It's just a steady outlet of information.
Fantastic. And I can say that from knowing you personally and having advised you in a business capacity, that it is quite affordable. As a matter of fact, I recall recently giving you shit that it's too affordable. So let's talk about that a little bit, because, it's one thing when you have a regular business where people are used to seeing profits and nobody questions it. So if you were selling designer purses, nobody would care how much you were charging. Do you find, as a spiritual business person that is selling a spiritual service, have you struggled with the whole money relationship angle of that business?
I definitely think that looking back from where I first started to where I am now, I now truly understand really taking the time, because it is a lot of energy that goes into everything. And, when I'm looking at my membership, the way that I'm looking at this right now is that I know that a lot of people are going through hardships. I get it. I understand it. The last couple of years have been hard for so many people. And I'm your average person. I'm just your average girl next door. And I want everybody to be able to look at the price and say, I can invest that into myself right now. Now, will the price stay that way? No, it will not. But I will be launching it at a massive discount at this time so that everybody has a chance to jump on and, transform your life. And then you can share it with others. It's the ripple effect that I'm looking at right now. Because before, as I always said, if I could change one life per day, I did my job. But now I'm ready for a lot more.
Does this keep you, wanting to change lives and being so personally invested? Do you, and I'm going to answer this for you, yes, you do, but do you struggle with the whole monetary angle of your business? Like when someone says to you, I want a session, but I can't afford it. Today, and to tell you where this is coming from, audience, since you're here. So today we talked about leaky boundaries in business. And if you're in any kind of service industry that is emotionally connected, so not just psychics, but therapists would go through this sort of deal. What are some of the ways that people challenge those boundaries?
Well, I definitely have issues with that, for sure. It's something that I'm really trying to learn. And that's my strong empathic side of just wanting to help the world, really. And it's hard to say no when it comes to that, because in my heart, it's being pulled to saying yes. I think that some of the boundaries is people taking advantage of it. I come from my heart. So every session I come from my heart to provide all the tools that someone needs from a step-by-step standpoint. But then it's after that might be just writing, can I just ask you one question? I had a dream, and what does this mean? Or I don't mind hearing. I absolutely love hearing when people are telling telling me how their lives are changing because they're utilizing the tools that they've been given. And then I get, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this is what happened. I love reading those because that makes me feel whole. But when we look at the other point, I do have to create the boundaries of being able to say no. Unfortunately, what you're looking for would fit into an additional session, as opposed to just trying to give it away for free and being afraid to say no because I didn't want them to be mad at me.
The not wanting people to judge you or think ill of you, do you find that that's one of the biggest struggles you face as a spiritual person in business?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because even just takes a couple people out there who are not necessarily, I won't say not real, right? There's always the faux pas that comes with it. And so I already have to pass that kind of viewpoint of customers or clients or things like that. But that's probably my biggest one because I come from the heart and they just, me, I'm real, I'm straightforward. It's how it is. But for some odd reason, I can't seem to put the foot down in that area. So yeah, for sure. 100%, 100%. Darn it.
Yeah, it's a constant. So now you've been with Black Ram since the beginning of this venture of yours. Yeah. How would you say Black Ram has benefited just having us in your corner?
I think one of the biggest things was having you guys stand by me, right? And even some of the crazy views that I might have had that I was able to bring up with you on, could we create this or can we maybe shoot something like this? And as much as maybe sometimes it was a look of shock and, well, let's tweak this and turn it into this way. I think for me, it was more of knowing that I can broaden out. And it's not just me. And then again, it reaches a different form of audience. And that's what it's about. So, I'm absolutely grateful that you guys stand behind me and even took me on as a client. And shooting the pilot was absolutely amazing. I know since I was a little girl, I wanted to be on TV, as scary as it was with a ton of cameras that are facing all the way around and even going through the whole COVID thing. So not having them sit in front of me, but having to do it over through a phone. And we still did it, right? You had your bumps, you had whatever. May not be as professional as what you see out there, on TV itself, but it was real. And that's what we were going through. And that's a moment that I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
Is TV something you would still like to pursue for your career?
Absolutely. I am made to be on TV. I knew at 3 years old I was supposed to be on TV. I don't know what it was supposed to be. Thought it was going to be a talk show. Hey, it might just be a talk show. But I know that I am made to be on there. And I guess sometimes I've realized in life that you go through things and you think that it's supposed to be one way and then another door opens up. And as much as, maybe we did the pilot and things like that, it's going to lead to something else. And I'm okay with that. I just believe that there's going to be a time that this face is going to be on a big ass billboard and it's going to be on camera and you're going to be looking and saying, I know her. That's the curly hair girl. That's going to be me.
So as a professional that's trying to build your PR and still maintain your level of integrity and sincerity and everything else, what's been your biggest lesson or what's the biggest obstacle for you as a spiritual person in business trying to make a go of this?
I think the biggest obstacle that I had was I felt as though I had to separate who I was to the business side of myself. And I've learned over the past year, I'm the same person. So I thought I had to be extremely professional in one sense. And then, I am kind of your crazy, loud, funny type of person and very raw. And over this last year, I finally integrated together and realized I have nothing to be ashamed of. This is who I am. This is who I'm always going to be. And also the other part of that is that I'm always saying be authentic, truly authentic to who you are. not caring what other people say, because it doesn't matter what you're going to do, what choices you make. There's going to be people out there who are going to disagree. They're going to have a comment to be made. But when you feel it in your heart and you feel it in your soul, you are letting yourself down to not follow it, because that's what your true calling is. So this last year was the biggest learning lesson of really being authentic, being vulnerable, getting out there, showing my story with my husband, crying on my lives, which was something I never thought I would do in my entire life, of looking at me really raw. But I found that I gained more respect from that than I ever did from anything else, because then people looked at me and they said, okay, you know what? She's just like me. I'm not in a whole other category of others.
Now, because you were sharing your husband's story on your page, where you also read for people and do live readings and stuff, your engagement grew substantially. Even though you took a year off, you really didn't,
Right?
because your audience kept growing and your PR kept growing and everything else. Now, you experienced a stumbling block a little while ago, which is one of the risks of becoming popular, and one of the things that scares people away from becoming celebrities is you were actually cloned.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So for the past couple of years, I've had people who will make pages, and you can kind of catch them pretty quickly. And I have amazing followers who will message me right away. Normally it's if I'm doing a live, somebody's taking that time, create a page, take my photos, take whatever. And unfortunately, you try to go and get the page taken down, and I can only say, please block, please do all of this and warn. But this last one probably took it 10 steps further. And again, in my mind, I always think it's never going to happen to me. There's the kind side of myself, of how brutal some people really can be out there. So what ended up happening was, not only, were they taking pictures and stuff, but they actually hacked completely into my account. We're looking at private messages, using those messages and going on to recent followers, making it look like it was me, and showing them screenshots and scamming them out of money. And it ended up being one that brought it to my attention, and it made me learn that I needed to protect myself a lot more, stop being so trusting itself. That was something that they had warned me about for years, and again, I didn't listen. So there's always something that's going to come to you of just, will you please open your eyes? Here it is. But it was in that moment that, even my daughter looked at me and she said, Mom, this is something you always wanted, but look what comes with it. You're going to be constantly looking over your back. You're going to be constantly having those that are going to try to create pages or accounts or whatever it is under your name. This is what comes from it. And I never saw that, I guess, because, again, never thought it would happen to me. But that one really opened me up on being very protective now, being very aware, making sure that my family is protected, photos are protected, things like that are protected, so that I will not have to face this again in the future.
So it hasn't discouraged you from increasing your celebrity?
No, it did for a while. I'm not going to lie to you. I went through my panic. I went through my anger, my sadness, my depression. I felt like I let this happen. But then at the same time, I just had to create a plan on how do I get past this. And it was, again, that was a learning lesson. It was a learning lesson from above. And now I hear it loud and clear. So now I know what to do going forward.
So it's just about learning the risks, learning what the scams are, and educating your clientele, which you're very good at doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? The best thing is having fantastic clientele. I mean, my phone goes crazy. Beep, 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 beep. Like, now, is this you? This isn't you. Tia, is this this is not you. Oh, Tia, I found a page. Oh, here's another one. Oh, here's 6 more. Okay, can you please report? Right? So it allows me to stay on, and I'm constantly posting it and trying to pin it so that people can see. And the one thing I say is, A, look at the spelling. B, look how many followers, please. If this is a new page, not me. I'm not going to write you and say, hey, I found you. Your aura is blah, 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 blah. It's not my type of personality. It's not who I am. So I am very blessed and grateful more than ever for who stands behind me in my corner, because they're the first ones to flag it.
So, how do you maintain your connection with your spirituality? Because so many people, like you said, you think you have to separate being a spiritual person and then being that business person, and you only really get successful when you're able to integrate the two. How were you able to make your peace with making money off your spiritual gifts?
I think for me is that when I go out, I'm not afraid to say who I am. It's kind of like, hi, how are you? I'm sorry. Can I ask you a question? And normally I'm doing free readings or whatever. It just happens, right? It's just natural. I
Yeah,
don't
you did
stand
3
back
free readings on
on my
your
way
way here. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, every gas station and convenience store I stopped at, I kind of gave a little bit of a mini read. And I felt whole leaving. Right? They weren't long. They weren't whatever. It's not something that's planned. It just happens to be because it makes me feel good. So now I just go out and I'm like, okay, so here I am. And
I'm a witness that when you arrived here, within about 20 minutes, you got the message from a child of someone that you did this to, that you left them a huge emotional impact in a very good way. And their kid reached out and said, you just saw my dad at a gas station and you just changed everything for us.
yeah, so it was a mom and it was her father who came through, and her husband wasn't really into it. I just knew there was a man. I thought it was him. So I do the reading. She's in tears. I get back in my car. I drive. And yeah, so I get here. I show you, dang, it's her daughter who lives in another province saying, my mom just called me. I have no idea what you've done. These are what makes me want to be just who I am. I'm being authentic. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done trying to please. I'm done trying to do whatever. This is who I am. I know who I am. That's the difference.
And I feel like when we were first going into this journey with you, because you really struggled with the money thing. I remember that. And I remember saying to you, think about it as you're not charging for the gift, you're charging for the time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because a lot of time gets taken from you every day with people wanting advice.
It does. And you know what? I'm starting to get better. So even the past year, yes, I raised my prices and they're going to be raised again, right? I was a person who could never stay in my time frame. So every single session that I did for 2 years, I would go over by a half hour or 45 minutes because I couldn't get it all in. And that's when I realized I'm not a person for short sessions. There's no 20-minute session here. I can't do that. It's impossible because I dig too deep. So then I enhanced it, and my longest session is 90 minutes. And there are times when I'm like, still trying to get it in that time frame. But now I understand about the time. I gave out so much time, and I heard above, what are you doing?
Tell me how that impacted your life in a negative way. The leaky boundaries, or the giving away of free stuff for too much time, that need to constantly overgive.
I drained myself. I absolutely drained myself to a point that, my children or my husband would come and I was tired all the time. And it was, you're working too hard. You're pushing too hard. You got to stop, take a couple steps back. And then there's me. But I got Betty who just wrote me. Oh my God. She feels like, and it just kept going until he's like, I actually can admit, I think I pretty much burnt myself out. And that's probably why certain things happened over the last year to put me at a halt. Because I also realized how much of a workaholic I turned into from all those little messages that seem to be coming in to the extra time that I'm spending that we're supposed to be focused either on, my well-being or to my family. So again, learning lesson. Here's what the big thing comes to you. We're going to put everything on halt. And now you have no choice but to look at yourself. And I learned to be in the moment, and I learned to enjoy my family. Family comes first to me. Business comes second. And I had that the other way around. So I know now I will never go back.
Very good. I'd say that's a good life lesson.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for any newbie spiritual person looking at trying to monetize their passion? What would your advice be to them?
I think the biggest thing is about just taking the first step. That's what this comes down to. I understand that, you might be nervous, you might be scared, and there's a lot of people who may have friends who aren't spiritually open, so they don't feel like they can talk. Joining my page, joining whatever, I'm creating a community. of like-minded people, of empowered people, both men and women, and having you understand what you might be going through. If you have gifts that are opening up now, because God bless you all, those ones that are out there where you had a gift before and you closed yourself off, you're being open, it's not closing. Those who had gifts before but didn't use them to their fullest potential, guess what? Lightning just striked and now you're about to be opened. So with this, there's a lot of chaos, craziness, and uncertainty. And I want people to understand that you're not alone. You're not. There's so many people out there who are going through the exact same thing, which is why it's so important for me to do the VIP membership program. So we can all come together. Allow me to help you go through this spiritual journey. The ups, the downs, the roller coasters, the tears, the laughs. But it's going to be one hell of a ride. But it's a ride that you deserve to give yourself.
So, Tia, you're a psychic medium, and now you're on this podcast, and of course, we're going to ask you for a prediction. So, the world seems a bit chaotic right now. What's your prediction for the world in the next little while?
I have to say, right now, we often look, and it is true that there will be a lot more bad that's going to be coming. Destruction has to come down first. It literally has to destruct to its bottom before we can rebuild. Is the energy shift already in motion? Absolutely. The 5D is a beautiful thing. Now, will everybody move up to the 5D level frequency of mindset and living and things like that? No, it's not going to happen because there are billions of people on this planet and we can only reach so many. I have to say that within the next 5 years, we're going to see a huge difference within this. Things that we have to get past the shock. But the number one thing is stay with your intuition and your inner beliefs of what you're being pulled to. Because unfortunately, what everybody's going through right now is layer by layer. Everything that we have been taught up until this point is starting to peel off, which then means we have to go right into our inner soul, start from the beginning and go from our heart. That's the difference. Once you get to that point, you will never view life the same, ever. And hopefully in 5 years' time, we will have that. But yes, we still have a lot of chaos and destruction that we're going to endure. So for those that think that they can't do anything because they're only one person, sending your energy up in a collective is more powerful than you can imagine. It's taking the time, 10 minutes of just looking up into the sky and saying, I'm going to send some positive healing energy to anybody out there who may be suffering or going through some difficult time, either with the wars or the hurricanes or all of that. And in a collective, it does more than what meets the eye. Each person is here for a reason. We all have our own inner powers. The question is, what are yours?
Well, folks, I say that's a good place to end it, and go get them. Thank you for joining Black Ram Media's podcast, Gaining Ground. My name is Daniela Sagia, and we will see you soon. Have a great day.